we're going to be looking for in the next coming year. This is for round 2 of the bond issue. That refers to the second group of vertical projects that are funded through bonds by Odot. The first group is presently under construction or will be this spring. We have several that are running late. The balance of that funding from the first bond issue is going to be the seed money for your professional services for round 2. And of course, round 3 will have seed money. Round 2 will have seed money going out to for round 3 in the next fiscal year for those service contracts. So we have Wi-Fi in case you need it. There is the username DAS guest, and the password is online-12. In case you don't know, for restrooms.
Just online 12.
Online 12 is it? Okay. Restrooms are down this hall. When you see the ping pong table, turn left and go right to the back. You'll see the facilities back there. Please turn off your cell phone and make sure they just vibrate. And we have at the last minute be able to got videograph services, so we will be taking some breaks to provide points for editing this, and it will be online, I believe, on Monday, we hope, for you to review any extra information that you may have missed in our presentations here. As far as participation goes, I'd ask if you got a question, stick your hand up as we're going through this. Do not wait to questions at the end. We're going to stop and answer questions right when you've got them so that we can keep current with what's developing. There will be slides at the end of each section also for questions, so whichever you feel is appropriate is fine with us. So I'm Ned Thiel. I'm the program manager for agencies in higher ed with OFCC. I'm one of 2 on that side of the house at the commission. And I'm going to be giving the first part of the overview of what the bond issues are. So the fiscal year 17-18 bond issue will be for $100 million. It is presently anticipated the bond sale will be completed and the funds available in November of next year. That's November of 2017, with approximately $100,130,000 expended by May of 2019. This 18-month window that we have is a requirement to have the funding expended. It has to be basically done by the end of that window, per law and some other agreements, et cetera, that have to go into it. This window that we have for these projects will drive the schedules for all of them to substantial completion. After substantial completion, the expenditure of funds is minimal, and we'll pick that up in the next bond issue to cover it through if we have to. There are currently 12 projects slated for this group of work, and it consists of full-service maintenance facilities and a couple of outposts. If you look at the RFQ, you'll see where those are at, and we're going to discuss that more. And our intent is to acquire a different professional service provider for each one of these projects. We do reserve the right that it may make some sense to combine 2 projects with one AE firm. We have a goal to acquire services from AEs that are geographically dispersed across the state as the projects are. And we want to work with qualified firms for the first time if we can. We want to get to know you and your capabilities. We want to provide experience for you working with the state if you have not before. So you get to know the OFCC process, which some of us are familiar with, and I will say is not that bad. Get to know our project managers and our methods, policies, and procedures. So this is kind of an opportunity for some of you guys that have not worked with us before to get on board. We'd also like to incentivize you by going through this process with Odot to look at what our other offerings will be for professional services with our agencies and higher ed groups that are coming down the pike, and with K-12 also, if you haven't done it there. Because of the 18-month window for drawing down the funding, the execution of the projects on time is an absolute must. They have to be made and cannot be delayed for any reason. So we're going to be looking at providers that feel confident they're able to do that. And also the other thing is, because of the winters in Ohio, we need substantial completions for the projects in August of 2019 so that we can allow move-in and stockpiling of materials for the winter of 2019-2020. And that is to service the people that actually use these facilities. And we all like them to be on board so that they're cleaning the snow off our highways out of these new facilities coming that year. These are the counties that are projected to get it, the new projects: Carroll, Franklin, Greene, Medina, Monroe, Montgomery, Perry, Portage, Stark, Union, Washington, and Wood. As you can tell, it represents quite a spread across the state. And Carrie will be talking more about what those projects are in a few minutes here. The request for qualifications that you received this morning also gives you the distribution of the full-service maintenance facilities across these counties and also where the 2 outposts are at. So any questions on just an overview of where the whole project at a high level is? So I'd like to introduce Carrie Yost, and she's going to discuss the Ohio Department of Transportation's piece. Carrie?
Thank you, Ned. As Ned said, I am Carrie Yost. I work with the Statewide Facility Operations Group with the Department of Transportation, and I'm actually really excited to be here to share some of the stuff that we have going on, and I'm really thrilled that we have this much attendance and interest in our project. So, we are looking to expand our pool of applicants for design services on our projects, and it's really wonderful to see everybody here. There's a lot of new faces here. But there's some old faces that we are willing and want to continue working relationships with. So I'm going to introduce some of the other ODOTers that are here. We have Rick Puterbaugh. I asked to kind of just do a quick wave. He is oversight of some of our project administration projects by OFCC, but he also handles the vertical projects that we do here at ODOT, locally administered. We have Tyler Bircher here as well. He helps handle our short and long-term statewide facilities planning and coordination of all of our major projects. Terry Bolden, I'm not sure he's here yet, but he will be here shortly. He's the administrator of our ODOT Office of Outreach. It's included in our Division of Opportunities, Diversity, Inclusion, and helps aid in both vertical and construction projects for our agency and getting consultants on board. So, actually, I think he's just walking in. And then we have Louis Soul in the back here. He's our very much appreciated videographer for today's event. So, Terry, I just did a quick couple introductions. If you can wave your hand. This is Terry Bolden, I just mentioned as head of our outreach program. So he'll answer any questions if you have any towards the end of the program. So, all right. Oh, there we go. So. So if you were able to attend this year's OFCC conferences, I did speak at some of those. You may have heard me distinguish between ODOT's projects as both horizontal or vertical. Everyone typically assumes roadways when they think of our agency, so I feel like I need to clarify. We are talking about vertical projects and vertical projects only today. But if it weren't for our roadway systems, we wouldn't be talking. Since our current administration has taken office in 2011, ODOT has invested an unprecedented $12 billion in approximately 6,000 projects to improve our transportation system, and more than 90% of our construction budget has gone to taking care of our existing infrastructure. We're not adding a lot of capacity to our transportation system, but rather striving to maintain and manage what we have at a high level to assist on your regular everyday commutes throughout the state of Ohio. So Statewide Facilities is a support role for our agency. It's similar to any human resources, IT, finance, those sections in any organization. And we do work to provide a safe, functional, cost-effective properties and facilities to support ODOT's core functions and missions. One of our main focuses is to assist to make sure the maintenance and operation workers in these photographs are able to do their jobs well. They do work every day in dangerous and often harsh conditions to improve our transportation systems. ODOT, Ohio, the state of Ohio does have nearly 260,000 roadway lane miles, with nearly half of those on our major highways. And ODOT does maintain 45,000 miles of this network in conjunction with 15,000 bridges of the 45,000 that are found throughout our state. So we have a lot that we're managing on a regular basis. Many of our facilities that are supporting those are aged and deficient, and we still have a lot of facilities across the state that are really too small to house the type of equipment that we're using with today's technology for our roads. We do have a pretty impressive building portfolio with 7 million square feet under roof. And this number is going to be growing slightly as we work to house more of our equipment under roof Doing so really has increased our agency's effectiveness and efficiency of operations for the state. This here is a breakdown of what ODOT's transportation facilities look like. We do work to provide ease of movements of people and goods from place to place throughout our state, and our facility management goals are always to have a safe and healthy work environment, to have well-maintained and operationally functional building facilities, and we do work to uphold and preserve each of our investments. We do this first by maintaining our facilities, second by repairing our facilities, and third by replacing our facilities. So one of the reasons we're here today is because we really are in the middle of a sizable replacement phase for all of our facilities across the state. About 5-6 years ago, ODOT worked in conjunction with the State Architect's Office, now High Facility Construction Commission, to establish a master planning process which will help us provide a systematic and all-inclusive method for gathering and analyzing statewide information. It allows us to make logical decisions, taking into effect those decisions will have on our entire operations for our department. As part of this process, ODOT's 12 districts assessed, and they continue to assess the operational needs and provide recommendations to facilities on what their operational needs are. Facilities are now being constructed around the operations rather than ODOT's operations fitting into a framework that doesn't meet all of their needs. A lot of factors go into our master planning process. ODOT is making sure our facilities are in the right location to focus on lane miles served, our proximities to priority highways and snow routes. We look at urban versus rural service areas and the future growth of those areas and any potential roadway infrastructure changes that we may have. We do work in conjunction with our equipment parameters. We do need to take into account how far trucks can travel before they need to go back and get salt and fuel refills. And then any needs that they have for dead-end time when they go to the end of their routes for when they're traveling. We take into consideration the topography of the region where we're placing these facilities, and are there necessary site utilities in those locations. One of the big focuses that we look at in the master planning process is, are we able to blur our lines between our district and counties and co-locate in various locations across the state. We are taking that one step farther, and we're looking at shared facilities with other governmental entities that provide similar transportation-related facilities. That could be other state agencies, universities, local towns, villages, counties, etc. We have 3 operational facility types. Our full-service maintenance facilities are our largest. Our outposts are our medium-sized, and our yards are our smallest. And all of these contain key elements which we call a kit of parts. Our full-service maintenance facilities do have administrative office areas as well as maintenance and welding capabilities for our mechanics. Both our full-service and our outpost facilities have heated truck storage, vehicular wash areas, cold storage, miscellaneous material storage, salt storage, and oftentimes a fuel island and brine-making equipment. The last or smallest isn't part of this round of projects, but we do construct yards. They are smaller, unmanned, and only house essentials that are required for where they're being constructed. That could be salt, fuel, whatever combination of things that are needed in that location. So, this is a slide probably everyone's interested in. Ed kind of talked about all the locations that we are building in right now. We are designing and constructing 10 full-service maintenance facilities and 2 outposts over the next biennium, which Ned mentioned earlier. And they're all outlined in the request for qualifications which was handed out this morning. We do ask at this time that we not have any site visits to these locations. As we move through the shortlist selection, ODOT and OFCC will be working with those selected individuals to make sure that you have any information readily available at your disposal for these projects. So keep that in mind as you're pulling your RFQs together. Statewide facility operations is one. It's accountable for the management and coordination of ODOT's vertical construction projects, which we fund with capital improvement dollars. And we do work with our districts in preparations of their work plans and prioritizations, help them develop and plan facility-related projects throughout the state for years in advance. If you really have been tracking our progress over the last few years, you may know really that where there's not a zephyr on this map, we have or are currently replacing facilities in those locations. Since the construction reform, ODOT really has tried all of the different project delivery methods, and we really have found that not one of them is perfect. I'm sure you guys all have come across that. But there are a lot of benefits for owner agencies. In my mind, ultimately, it really comes down to the project team and the collaboration between OFCC, Odot, the design team, and the contractors on our project. So for this round of projects, we will be going back to the design bid build scenario. If you're a part of our recent design build and construction manager at risk projects, you will know that we have had many lessons to learn, and right now we are going through and evaluating those so that we can improve for our upcoming and then our future planned projects in conjunction with OFCC. So, one of the ways that we're doing this is to understand our key components, or our kit of parts that I mentioned earlier, and how they can be manipulated to fit on our individual requirements for operations throughout the state. Of course, everyone knows that the northern part of the state sees more snow, so we're going to see more salt capacities in those facilities versus what we're building in the south. Also looking at how these components fit within the constraints of our various site configurations and potential obstacles that every site will bring to a project. We do try to effectively use each site for ease of maneuverability on and off the property, but we also take into consideration what is needed for vehicles and personnel on the site getting in and out of each structure. So this is a picture of one of our newest facilities. See if I remember how to do the pointer. There we go. So we have all of our components here. We have our main structure at this site. This is our truck storage area. This is our office area. We have our maintenance, and then we have our wash bay. We do have a cold storage, a fuel island structure, our calcium brine system, salt storage, and our material storage. We do work on making sure that all of our facilities are secure. And we do have kind of a tiered system. We have kind of a entry public access, which will be open during normal business hours, but then locked down when it's not. And then we have kind of the back of the house, which you can see as a security gate here, so that this is only for ODOT personnel on this site. And this is another project that was recently completed. As you can tell, the configuration is very different from the last aerial image that I showed. But it has all the same key parts. We have our truck storage here, our wash bay back here, our office area, our maintenance area, our brine area, fuel, salt structures, material storage, and cold storage. And you can still see that we have that dedicated kind of public access and back of the house stuff that would be only for ODOT. So. Like I said, there's a lot of variations that go into all of our projects, but each one of them have key parts or components that we do. And besides just the basic layouts between these two projects, you can see there's different paving materials. The first one had concrete, the second one has asphalt. We've also made some modifications to our cold storage buildings. The first one had a pole building, the second one had a tension fabric, which allows us to have a little bit more square footage. So there have been some variations, and we'll talk about those through the program and requirement phases for each of our projects. But the basic kit of parts are going to be the same for all of our projects. So I'll kind of run through some of our kit of parts. We do have our office area. We dedicate about 4,000 square feet in every one of our facilities. The different layouts really depend on the priorities of the counties. We include all of our mechanical, electrical, and security rooms in this area so that they're secured and kind of out of the way. These office areas include our offices, our break area. They have bathrooms, locker rooms, and some of them do have showers if it meets the needs of the counties. One of the things that we're working on within ODOT is to make sure that we have a 4,000 starting point, and the districts and the counties are able to kind of configure them to meet their needs. So we'll have some play on where we want walls to be constructed or something within those areas. Our truck storage. This is one that stores our single and tandem axle dump trucks. As you could tell from the picture earlier, some of our vehicles are quite large. And we do have specialty trucks, which are Vector trucks and bus trucks, that we also need to incorporate into these truck storages. We are looking to put all of our equipment under roof in conditioned spaces. These we try to keep in the winter around 40 degrees so that we don't have ice and snow build up on these if they were parked outside. It would take much longer for us to get back on the roads whenever we have a snow emergency. So we are using truck storages to store all of necessary equipment that we need to maintain operating the roads. The truck storages do always include lockers for individual workers along with each parking area. Typically they have a 1-ton monorail crane, and then we include the mechanical room for the adjacent wash bay within the truck storage. Our vehicle wash area, this is one that we've changed over the last several years. We are now extending the wash bay so that it can wash two vehicles at the same time, which makes them about 95 to 100 feet long. We are looking at putting the undercarriage wash equipment in the middle of those two bays so that we minimize any spray that happens on our overhead doors. If it's too close to the overhead doors, we end up with rust and decay in those doors and future replacement. So relocating them to the center is helpful. Some of our facilities, we're looking at doing side wash systems for safety rinses, so our vehicles can come in after they've been on the road. They can go through a safety rinse, clean all their mirrors and windows and everything before they go back out to refill for salt and fuel and get back out on the road as quickly as possible. The wash bay is a very harsh environment because we are washing trucks down that have salt on them. So we are looking at doing plastic panel systems on the walls for protection of elements due to those harsh conditions. And we are looking to make sure that we don't have any exposed kind of metal that we would cause rust and decay in when we're constructing those. So we have seen a few that have been masonry rather than using plastic panel. Just want to make sure that we're able to preserve that.